Hi, it's Carly McAvoy. We're talking about volume and surface area today, and this video is about the cone. The volume of a cone is 1/3 capital B times H, and in that case, that capital B is the base, and that base is a circle for a cone, so it's pi r squared. So that big B, a lot of times you see that big B, and then that's not the same as a little b, and a big B always stands for the base. And different objects have different bases. Whoops, I kind of went out of focus there. So let's take a look at a picture that helps you see what a cone actually is. This is a right cone that I have down here because it's just going straight up, and that's the ones we're going to be dealing with. I thought this was kind of a nice picture. It doesn't come out as well without color, but pi r squared h is what we have for a cylinder, right? That's the volume of a cylinder. And in a right cone, inside there is 1/3 of that. So it's pi r squared h, but you lose a bunch of that. So it's 1/3 the size of a cylinder. That's really all you have to remember. We have a thing that we're going to start talking about called slant height. And slant height is that length of the side of that cone. The height goes down to the center, from the tip right down to connect with the center of the circle and the base. But the slant height is this edge over here. And the slant height sometimes is denoted by S, and sometimes by L, and sometimes I've even seen it by H sub S. And it's confusing that they use all those different methods to say it, but the slant height is that length. So when I look at this picture, I have the height, I have the radius, and I have the slant height. If I just want to find the volume, I don't care about the slant height, because the volume is 1/3 pi r squared h. That's the volume. The base is pi r squared, right? So we have pi, and then radius is 8, and then the height is 15. So when I have the formula as 1/3 base times height, that's just an easy way to write it. But we also could say 1/3, I'm saying 1/3, but I'm writing 1/2, 1/3 pi r squared h, right? Because pi r squared is our capital B here. And so then I just have to put that into my calculator and see what I get. And again, I don't like to round things early on. Like, I don't want to change the 1/3 to 0.333 because it changes the answer. Unless you go out several threes, well, it's easier just to put in the fraction 1/3 and let the calculator deal with it. So that's times 3.14159. You guys know I could use my pi, but then I have to make the decimal happen, and sometimes that's a pain. And then 8 to the second power is 64, and then times 15. And that gives me a volume of 1005, and then I'm going to round that to the hundredths and get 3.1. And then I want to make sure I have the right unit. Well, I'm talking about volume, and so I have a three-dimensionals. I have a width and a height, and I have a length too. So I have 3 different dimensions every time I have volume. And so this was meters, so it's 105.31 cubic meters. Okay, well, let's look at surface area for a cone. The surface area of a cone, S of A, is equal to pi r s plus pi r squared. Now pi r s, S is that slant height. And then this formula also includes the pi r squared, which is that circle on the bottom. Pi r squared is just that circle. If you want the lateral surface area of a cone, then the base is not included, and it would just be pi r s. Now remember that we always have cubic units for volume, and we always have square units for area. Okay, so here's the picture again of our right cone with our radius and our height and our slant height. This picture in particular called it L, and a lot of books do use L. And I think the book that we're using uses an S, so I'm just warning you now. It could be either way when you look at it. Find the total surface area and the lateral surface area of a cone with a radius of 16 yards and a slant height of 22 yards and a height of 14 yards. So I want to find surface area, and I know I need pi times radius, which was given, times slant height, which was 22 given, and then a height of 14. Well, it doesn't matter. We don't have to have the height. Yeah, we have to have the slant height is what we need, because pi r h would be that if it was a nice circle like a cylinder and we flattened it out, but this one's different, so we use the slant height. Anyway, then we're going to add on pi r squared, the radius being 16, and that's going to give us the total surface area including that base, 3.14159 times 16 times 22. If you didn't tune in for the first video, remember that the reason that I'm putting the pi in there and not just 3.14 is because I was getting the wrong answer with that on Math Excel when I did that. They wanted something a little more specific. I'm doing this again, 1105.8397, and then pi r squared times 16 squared. 3.14159 times 16 squared is 804.2470 plus the 1105.8397 is 1910.09, rounded to the hundreds, which is what I've been doing. So this surface area includes the entire cone lateral surface plus that base. And so we know area is to the second power, and this was yards, so it would be yards squared. And then what about the lateral surface area? Well, it's this pi r s, which s we know is 22. And we just did that, and I wrote it down so I wouldn't have to do it again. 8397, which if I approximate it to the second place is 84. And again, that is yards squared as well. So we can find the surface area, we can find the lateral surface area, and we can find the volume of a cone just by using those formulas. Have a great day.